Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a review/thought video. And for this one, I wanted to give my thoughts on James Gunn's Superman movie, which I just came back from the theaters watching. And if there's any part of this video you wish to skip to, timestamps will be in the description of this video, assuming you watch this either on YouTube or Patreon. And for parents out there, it is worth pointing out that Superman, or James Gunn Superman, is rated PG-13 here in the US and all. Now, Superman is probably one of the most iconic comic book characters of all time, though. I may have read some comics here and there, but for me, I remember basically Superman from the the DC animation film, the Superman show done by Bruce Timm, who did Batman the Animated Series. Others may remember him from the Christopher Reeve Superman movies back in the 80s and everything like that. But that's my first time, I think, my first time getting into like the DC universe and everything like that. And of course, though, I mean, he's also been in I think one of the episodes of Batman Beyond, and of course the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, though, and of course recently he was in the My Adventures with Superman, which I thought that show was pretty good, season 1 and season 2, hoping for season 3 to happen someday. But in terms of video games, I would say up to this point there hasn't been any game coming close to being like good or something like that. But as far as outside of the Christopher Reeve Superman, played by the late Christopher Reeve and all, the Superman movies, I would say, has been mixed at best, depending on who you're asking. Some enjoy them, some don't. There were some who thought, Bryan Singer, who directed X-Men 1 and 2, Superman, some liked it, some didn't, although that one supposedly is to be more in line with the Christopher Reeve Superman, or try to make up for some of the Superman movies then that weren't that great. And then, of course, we had Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, which I thought was good, and I thought Henry Cavill, if I'm saying his name correctly, did a good job playing Superman. I just think, looking back at it now, his character was like wasted potential, because rather than try to do a sequel to Man of Steel, they did Batman v Superman, which I think, looking back, that should have came a little bit later, not right away and everything like that. And since then, I just feel like his character has just been wasted potential then and all. But when DC decided to reboot their cinematic universe to a certain degree and have James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Volume 1, 2, and 3, handle the DC cinematic universe, I was very curious to see how Superman and this new DC cinematic universe was going to be handled. Obviously, earlier this year, James Gunn released the first season of Creature Commando, that's part of this new DC cinematic universe, and I enjoyed Creatures Commandos and all, and hopefully a second season is in the works. I believe I remember hearing that, but I'm not 100% sure and all. But now the next endeavor was basically him directing a Superman movie and all. And I was very curious to see how this one was going to come out. And then, of course, we had the teaser trailer and the official trailer, and it definitely showed some promising stuff. And after watching the movie, which is about 2 hours and 9 minutes long, I will say I did come away very pleased with this. And I do think it's going to be interesting to see where this DC cinematic universe that James Gunn is now in charge of, what direction they decide to go with this one. But in either way, came away pleased. Some decisions I'm a little mixed on, but still enjoy this movie nevertheless. So I'm going to break it down into what I like and what I didn't like, mixed, not 100% sure about. In terms of what I like, I will say David Corenswet, if I'm saying his name correctly, I thought did a really good job portraying Superman. It was certainly neat to see his character in basically as Clark Kent, to basically donning, the Superman suit and everything, though. I thought he did a really good job portraying it. Same with Nicholas Hoult, who I thought did a really good job playing Lex Luthor and all. So I think they did the right job casting these folks, and I think that was handled very well. The other thing to talk about is the action sequences, and they're pretty good, I will say. Seeing some of the scenes, like, Superman get beat up and everything, and calling on Krypto and all, the dog and everything, to some of the fight scenes are done really well, to even, Superman trying to save some of the civilians and everything. So very much neat indeed in terms of some of the action sequences and fight scenes. Also seeing some of the other members of, the Justice Gang, which I wouldn't be surprised if they called them Justice League down the road. Their sequences was good, including Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, and all. And especially that one scene near the border between the two countries where Guy Gardner, I think that's his name, Green Lantern, using taking out the tanks with sort of like the middle finger being shown up. So that was pretty clever. I thought that was pretty funny, indeed. But yes, the action sequences are done really well. I will say the other thing I do want to talk about is Krypto the dog, which I think could be a fan favorite to a certain degree. I like how he's kind of portrayed in this one to a certain extent. Superman having some issues with the dog, trying to tell him to do this, do that. But in either case, though, I thought that was sort of like a highlight to some extent for the Superman movie. So it was really done really neat with Krypto the dog. And last but not least, I do like the fact that this film is basically paying homage to the Christopher Reeve Superman to a certain extent. While I won't say it 100% follows it, though, you do see some DNA of the Christopher Reeve Superman in this James Gunn's Superman movie in terms of his style and sort of the style and approach to a certain degree in terms of him saving the civilian citizens and so forth. So I really like the idea that they're paying homage to the late actor Christopher Reeve, especially when he portrayed Superman, I believe, back in the 80s and all. As far as what I didn't like or mix or not 100% sure, I will say I'm a little mixed on the decision to forego an origin story for this Superman movie. I know some folks may argue we know the story about Superman, this and that, and they do mention it in the beginning, talking about a little bit about him coming from Krypton to Earth and all, and I can understand that argument to some degree. But still, it would have been interesting to see James Gunn tackle or his take on a origin story to some extent, similar to kind of what we saw with 2013's Man of Steel and all. So I'm a little mixed on the decision not to do that, but I'm not saying it ruined the movie for me in any shape and any form, though. Also, one thing to point out is that I do like the fact that it sort of is kind of like an immigration story to a certain degree. I know, as I mentioned before, I know there are some right-wingers that are having a field day over that, but I had no issue with it being a immigration story and all. And so even though I would have been nice to have seen like James Gunn take on the origin story of Superman. And last but not least, I will say I'm also kind of mixed with the end credit scenes, and there are basically two and all. And I would say they're not bad by any chance. They're not terrible, though, and they do have some funny moments, but I would say they weren't like nothing really spectacular or anything like that. They aren't as memorable as, the end credit scene from when Iron Man first appeared, that started the MCU, and you had Nick Fury talk to them about, the Avengers initiative like that. You just don't see something like that in this one, though. Some may like the end credit scenes in this movie, though. Others may not. I'm just mixed. They're not terrible, but I just don't feel like they're memorable in any shape and any form. Overall, I would say I came away very pleased with this movie, though. I thought James Gunn's take on Superman was, I think, done very well, at least in my view. At its best, I think some of the actors and actresses that they picked for this movie were done very well. Nicholas Hoult, I thought, did a really good job with Lex Luthor. I thought he was an improvement from the Lex Luthor from, Batman v Superman or the Suicide Squad movie. David Corenswet, I think, I apologize if I'm not saying his name correctly, I thought did a good job playing, Superman. I do like some of the action sequences. I thought those were done very well. Krypto the dog, I could see him being a fan favorite to some extent, though. And I do like the fact that this movie kind of felt like paying homage to Christopher Reeve's Superman movie. But at its worst, though, I will say that I would have liked to have them do like, or at least James Gunn's take on like Superman origin stories. Again, as I mentioned, I know some folks feel like we've been down this road before. We've heard origin story here and there, and that might be true. But to some extent, I would have liked to have their take on an origin story. And again, the end credit scenes are, again, not terrible, but just not as memorable, at least from my view. But in either case, though, I thought James Gunn did a good job with this Superman movie, and I'm very curious to see what direction they go with this DC cinematic universe. I am curious to see what direction they'll go with other characters like Batman or The Flash or other characters out there. So it's going to be very interesting, or even like to a Green Lantern also. I would say it's off to a good start, and I'm curious to see what things will be like down the road in terms of seeing the next movie in this new DC cinematic universe that James Gunn is handling and all. Okay, this concludes this review/thought on my thoughts on James Gunn's Superman movie. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about James Gunn's take on Superman, though? Do you think he did a good job with the Superman movie? Do you think he did it okay or terrible job, though? Do you think he picked the right actors and actresses to portray these characters very well? Did you like the action sequences? Were there any characters that were fan favorites? Did you like the fact that this movie felt more like a homage to the Christopher Reeve Superman? Were you okay with them not doing the origin story, and were you fine with the end credits scenes in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Excuse me. And I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, so me watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.